Good morning, Earth dwellers. It's Miss Sorensen again with video 7, Outliers. Are you an outlier? We'll find out here on today's episode. Let's get started. All right. An outlier is an extremely high or an extremely low value in our data. We can identify an outlier if it is greater than Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Or you have an outlier if you have a value that is less than Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. So let's go ahead and look at the phone calls received in a week, and let's see what the outliers would be for this data. Now, to do this, we need to go ahead and order the data from smallest to greatest. So let's do that now. We're going to have 10, 11, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, then we've got a 14, 14, a 15, a 17, and a 22. Now, I kind of like to recount the number of values that I have just to make sure it makes sense. I clearly have 12 here. Let's make sure I have 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Way to go, Miss Sorensen. All right. So next thing we're going to do right now is we've got to find the Q1 and the Q3. To do that, we have to kind of make a pit stop on the way there and find the median first. So boom, boom, boom. Gotcha. Nailed you. Out of the way. Boom, boom, boom. All right, where are we at here? We're at a median of 12.5, but that actually mostly means that we don't count that when we're doing our Q1 and our Q3. Let's go ahead and find Q1 next. So I'm going to go cross, 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 cross. Oh, and I'm left with 2 in the middle, meaning that my Q1 is 11. Okay, let's find the Q3. Adios. See you later. Bye-bye. Gone. Oh, in the middle of 14 and 15 is 14.5. So what does that mean for our IQR? Well, our IQR is going to be Q3 minus Q1. And in this case, we subtract 14.5 minus 11, and that's going to give us 3.5. All right, now let's go ahead and let's calculate the max, right? So we're going to do Q3, which is 14.5 plus 1.5 times my IQR, which is a 3.5. That's going to give me a value of 19.75. Meaning, if you have any values in the data that are bigger than 19.75, it is an outlier. All right, now let's find the lower end of this. Okay, so we've got to do now this formula. My Q1, which is 11, minus 1.5 times my IQR again, which is 3.5. Okay, what does this end up being? It is, excuse me, got excited there. Do that in my calculator, I get 5.75. Meaning, if we have any values that are less than 5.75, we have an outlier. So let's go back and let's actually answer this question. So anything less than 5.75 is considered an outlier, and anything greater than 19.75. What would be considered an outlier for this data? Looking at here, do we have anything less than 5.75 in this data set right here? No, we don't. Do we have anything greater than 19.75? Absolutely, we do. So in this particular case, 22 is an outlier. All right. Let's go ahead and let's do a little bit more practice on this. I'm going to give you some values. I'd like you to kind of pause the video after I give you these values, and I want you to figure out for yourself, are there any outliers? And if there aren't, it's a good idea to also tell me what would be considered an outlier for this situation. So just for your sake, I'm going to put these in order. So let's go with a 1. Oh, I'm not putting them in order. I apologize about that. Let's go with 1, 7, 5, 12, 13, 14, and 21. Go ahead right now and find what would be considered an outlier for this data, and then go ahead and tell me if there are any outliers. Pause this video. All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and rearrange this data. So I've got a 1, a 5, a 7, a 12, a 13, 14, and a 21. Just going to count real quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got everything I need. Let's go ahead and find my Q1, my Q3, my IQR. My Q1, well, first of all, looks like my median is this, so my Q1 will be 5. My Q3 is a 14. And what's 14 minus 5? That is a solid 9. All right, let's go ahead and do our upper. So this is going to be right here. Okay, my upper is going to be my Q3, which is 14, plus 1.5 times my IQR of 9. Calculator says it is a 27.5. All right, next thing I'm going to do is my Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. So my Q1 is a 5 this time, minus a 1.5 times my IQR is 9. Calculator time. Sorry, I'm kind of losing it. And that's a negative 8.5. All right. So in this case, we have anything less than negative 8.5 is an outlier. But we can also say that anything greater than 27.5 is an outlier. So if we look back at our data, do we have any of those values? No, we don't. So in this case, we have no outliers in our set. All right. Now, we can also calculate outliers by looking at z-scores. So any z-score greater than 3 or less than negative 3 is considered to be an outlier. This rule of thumb is based on the empirical rule. Now, from this rule, we see that almost all the data, 99.7%, should be within 3 standard deviations from the mean. So we're really talking about outliers being here and here, which, if you recall, those are kind of our 0.1%. So let's see which SAT scores here would be considered outliers. Well, from this particular graph, which looks a little different from another one we saw previously, but that's all right, our outliers would be anything less than 150. And then same thing here, we would have anything that would be greater than 750. Now, seeing as if you write your name, you get a 200 on the SAT, really the only outlier is if you're greater than 750. All right, Nate the Great has 100 likes on his robot Instagram post. Find his z-score and determine if he's an outlier. Now, who remembers the formula for z-score? I do. Z-score is going to be equal to your x minus x bar over standard deviation. Well, that's going to mean that I need to find my x bar my average, and my standard deviation for the values below. You need to refer back to the graphing calculator video that I did showing you how to find this. Well, go ahead and pause this video and do that now and check your answers with me. All right, welcome back. After using your graphing calculator, you should have seen that you have a 28.8 x-bar and a standard deviation of 22.38. Let's go ahead and plug this in. So what's Nate's z-score? He's got 100 minus the x-bar of 28.8, all divided by 22.38. Now keep in mind you've got to put parentheses around that. And plugging that into your calculator, I find that Nate has a z-score of 3.18. So remember, you are an outlier if you have a z-score greater than 3 or less than -3. So because this here is greater than 3, we can say that Nate the Great, also known as Nate, is an outlier. That's it for video 7. Thanks so much for joining me. Make sure you smile lots and avoid lots of people. Thanks so much. Enjoy your life. Bye-bye now.